Welcome to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com, RockAuto.com, and by DieHard. Here's your MotorWeek podcast host, John Davis.
Thank you, Alec Webb, and welcome everyone to MotorWeek podcast number 117. And we're here in Studio C around an unusual round table today. I kind of like this better. I don't know about you folks.
I agree.
And around the round table, writer-producer Brian Robinson.
Hello, John.
Our road test producer Ben Davis.
Hello, hello.
Assistant producer Greg Carlos.
That is me.
And writer extraordinaire Patrick Lucas.
Hello.
All right, we'll have our lightning round. We even have a viewer question, and we've even got something new. But the cars we're going to talk about today, let's start with the Porsche 918 Spyder, probably among certainly Porsche enthusiasts, the car they'd most like to get some time in. And Greg, that's exactly what happened to you recently on a trip to Atlanta. So tell us a little bit about this electric gasoline monster.
Yeah, I mean, it's on every car enthusiast wish list, and even people who aren't into cars. I mean, it's the big Porsche now. I got to say, it came away really impressed. I know it's a big price tag, but that
it's
aside,
a supercar.
Exactly, and it is a supercar. I mean, you've got the 4.6 liter V8, and then you've got the two electric motors. You got one on the back, one in the front. So essentially, all-wheel drive, independent all-wheel drive system. 887 horsepower, 940 some pound-feet of torque. The thing that I was most impressed with is I was driving it back on normal roads, and it was like the LaFerrari in the way that it's really comfortable, actually. Inside,
you didn't feel like you were basically in something strange. I mean, in other words, it was comfortable. You could drive it every day.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll go against the McLaren P1. That one really beat you up inside. Yeah. I feel like this one was, really nice. On the track, though, it's just crazy. It's just so much power, and but it's so easily attainable for the. You don't have to be an F1 driver to be able to use this car's potential.
All of the European supercars seem to be going this route where you basically have a gas engine and one or more electric motors, and you come out with these. In this case, nearly 1,000 horsepower. Do you think, since this is basically an adaptation of hybrid, but I think with a little bit more, certainly more turned towards performance, but do you think this kind of powertrain makes sense for the everyday Joe car? We've got Priuses, we got hybrids here and there, but they're still treated somewhat special. Is this the run-of-the-mill powertrain of the future, this type?
I think it very well could be. It makes sense to me. Because if you can have something that it doesn't get the range that say a Leaf would yet, you get maybe like 20 miles or so on it. But there's a lot of times that you don't need more than that to get to where you're going. So,
or if you're in a city, like in Europe, where they're talking about banning gasoline cars during certain hours of the day.
And then you've got that gasoline-powered motor or engine to back you up if you don't have enough range. It really is the best of both worlds, and I could see it definitely being the way of the future.
I was around when Porsche unveiled the original concept, and I must tell you, I never thought they built it.
Yeah, you mentioned the steep price tag, but you compare it to the LaFerrari and P1, they're both well over $1 million. So 900,000.
Kind of a bargain.
Yeah, this was like $875.
Yeah, it seems like kind of a bargain when you hold it up to those guys.
Anybody else want to? We're just putting the drool back.
I saw
in
some
our
of the
mouths.
footage. It looked a lot better than I thought it would. Those that exhaust that exit out behind the rear window.
Yeah,
that's insane.
That was a pretty big deal for them. They said there was. Not only does it look cool, sound cool, but it actually gets that air out of the engine a lot faster than you would normally be able to, and that helps with the performance.
It keeps the engine bay temperatures down with the turbo.
And then with the battery and everything, the engine doesn't power any auxiliary anything, so it's no external belts or anything.
Everything is the battery.
Right, so that's another performance boost there.
So if it rained, it would collect down in there? Or is there
There's
trucker flaps over them.
They keep it out of there somehow. Then it's not like an obvious way, but I think you don't really have to worry about it too much. Yeah. But I'm sure it'll be garage kept.
I could deal with worrying.
You could probably afford a garage.
Did you feel like every gendarme in Georgia was tagging along after you?
I can't tell you how many people almost cause accidents trying to take pictures of this car.
All right, Porsche 918 Spyder. From there, we're going to transition to a car that's only a little bit more practical. Audi has shown us the second generation of their supercar, the R8. And as the last gap, since we love the first one so well, we've got a 2015 of the model of the existing R8 V10 in and had to go with it. So let me ask, do you think it's aged well? I mean, here was Audi's first supercar. It's been, 7-8 years since it came out?
I think for the most part, yes. But after having driven the Oricon, which is what the new R8 is going to be based on, you can definitely feel its age. In the interior, it's got real gauges instead of digital panels like everything else. But
which was nice.
Yeah. It's got the old data screen in between the gauges where you're used to seeing the crazy graphics of a TFT and stuff.
It's funny. I agree with you. I got in it and I felt like, wow, this is really dated. And I'm sure that's because we see all the new stuff. I'm not sure the average driver, of course, the average driver is not going to buy an R8. It was still fun to drive, but I noticed more clunks and, just things like, okay, it's not quite keeping up.
Yeah, this was the V10 Plus, which we never tested before.
Whoa, the brakes, killers.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah, crazy brakes.
Yeah, it was pretty rough and I wouldn't say clunky, although maybe that is the right word, but you can definitely feel it. You can definitely feel that this is a serious performance-only kind of car.
The ceramic brakes that came on this car caught me by surprise. We've had plenty of Porsches in with ceramic brakes, but I don't remember any of them grabbing like these did.
They were like off-on, and they were huge. They're bigger than wheels on a lot of cars we get in here.
The interesting thing is how the car has held its price. I looked back to some of the first model year R8s, and not saying people are getting it, but they're demanding, for 30,000 miles and under, anywhere from high 60s to high 70s for them, a little bit less for the V8. And you're looking at that and thinking, that's almost obtainable, but then you have to step back and say, that's almost the price of a Z06. What would you rather have? Would you rather have something that this car still turns heads everywhere you go?
I could settle for a 911, I think.
Yeah,
probably buy a brand new
price. Yeah. But still, cool car. And so those of you that had not driven it before, what did you think? Because some of us have driven quite a few. But
yeah, I'd never driven one before. I took it out, found a nice straight stretch of road. I won't say what it is because I was going kind of fast. But it was pretty crazy. I'd heard a lot about it. And, it is what it is.
So it met your expectations?
Yeah, a ton of power, really fast. I mean, you just step on the gas and that thing just goes, and it's got, all the good sounds you'd want. I thought it was exactly what
you just got out of the 918, so, obviously these are two different animals, but did you think it was still playing in the supercar class?
It's hard for me to put it in the supercar class because it is a lot of horsepower. It's like 550 or something like that. So, but again, it's not like supercar power.
It's more like a standard run-of-the-mill exotic power.
And that's
still in the 3 seconds 0 to 60 range.
That's just a testament to how other cars have caught up. And I would say, me having not driven one before, I expected it to be a little bit more refined. But since it is an older car, I'm assuming that other vehicles have caught up in that department. So, and when it first came out, I'm sure it was very refined.
Yeah, we were awestruck. Well, I think that's a very fair comment, though. It's time for an update. And the new one doesn't look that much different. So it's like you'll probably, if you're an aficionado, you'll know the difference, but a lot of people probably won't. Okay, let's move on to something totally mainstream. We just finished our latest comparison test that we do about 4 or 5 times a year with our friends at Cars.com and also USA Today. And this one was about the red-hot compact utility market, our compact SUV challenge, if you were. We had 7 competitors. Not every manufacturer was represented, but it was a good, solid group. Brian Robinson was our point person on the challenge. So, Brian, tell us a little about it.
You pretty much summed up the
and let's go on to the next subject now.
Yeah. It's an important segment, obviously, like you said, and it was a difficult one because some of these comparisons, there's clearly favorites and not favorites. This was like driving the same exact vehicle 7 times, and so they all have the exact kind of same features. All the prices were really similar this time around, so it really came down to nitpicking little things here and there. Ride quality and interior noise were big ones. Some of them are really quiet. Some are excessively noisy. So at the end of the day, it was the Honda CR-V that was the winner, which is also won last time we did this. So repeat winner.
And they just did an update on it as we've got a complete road test on the show. And so
good overall ride quality, lots of space, super low load floor. Makes getting stuff in and out really easy. Really easy to fold seats. Interior layout really nice. That's kind of all in all why.
Any surprises? I'm sorry.
So, is it safe to say that was among the quietest? Because I drove that thing down to Hershey last week, and I thought it was tremendously noisy inside.
I think it was mid-pack as far as noise. It definitely wasn't the quietest.
All right, that makes me feel better.
But wasn't Nissan Rogue, Subaru Forester, Mazda CX-5, they were all pretty noisy inside, more so than the CR-V. But as far as surprises, Subaru Forester, which is really doing well sales-wise.
And keeps getting picked by so many people.
Yeah,
that
didn't finish well, mostly because of, the interior noise and some of the interior materials some people thought weren't quite up to par.
But still working on their old interior layout, right?
Yeah.
So.
And the RAV4 didn't do well, which of course is the one that started this whole trend.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how that happened because I thought it had a really good balance as far as ride quality and handling. I think mostly it was just, again, interior materials, some noise issues.
But there wasn't, going back to what you said originally, there really wasn't a pig in the bunch.
No, some of these comparisons, someone will win by like 100 points. Here they were all close to within 100 points, all 7 of them. So it was really close.
And unfortunately, this is such a big category. Not every manufacturer was able to meet the stipulations on fuel economy and cap on price.
Right, the price cap was $28,000, and I think $26,000 combined fuel economy.
It is probably one of the most, if not the very most competitive segment out there.
Yeah, maybe another surprise. Both GMs were there, Equinox and Terrain, and they both did well, 2nd and 3rd place. And I think mainly just for rear seat room. It's probably the only one in that group.
They tend to be a little bit bigger than the others.
Yeah, it's the only one in that group where the adults could really sit in the back seats and feel comfortable.
But a good test, and if you're in the market for a compact SUV, certainly worth noting. And all of the results, we should point out, are available on the Cars.com website. But watch MotorWeek for the pictures. Okay, thanks, Brian. Now it's time to move on to our lightning round. This is where our panelists have 2 minutes to debate trending automotive topics. And this time up, when the time is up, we'll hear the bell. Patrick? The Toyota hydrogen car. Mirai. I always get it wrong. The Toyota Mirai. It's going on sale in the U.S. Also, of course, it's going to be available first in California. As a refresher, it's a hydrogen fuel cell powered 4-door sedan. A little bit smaller than the Camry. It's actually based on the European Camry equivalent. We've seen hydrogen fuel cell attempts from others, Hyundai with the Tucson. Of course, Honda also has a car coming to market, and they've been around doing it for a while. About $45,000 or so after tax incentives, gets 300 miles on a tank. All right. Us sitting around the table, hydrogen is always one of these things that's about 10 years off as far as practicality. Well, now they're actually going on sale. They've been on sale in limited conditions before. Does this kind of car, do you think it has real appeal? Is this a publicity stunt for Toyota, who seems to have sort of skipped over the battery-powered car more or less? Do we ever think that this is now the time for this particular alternative fuel to take off? Comments and a go. Start the clock.
I think that hydrogen has kind of taken a back seat. I would say like 10 years ago, I would say a lot of people probably thought that would be the wave of the future. But now that EVs and the plug-in hybrid and everything else has caught on, the hybrids are getting better. People have kind of forgotten about the whole hydrogen fuel cell. So And the problem there is the infrastructure. From what I hear, is that it's just so hard to find a filling station.
Almost
It's
impossible.
scary. I read some story last year about somebody who bought one of the Hyundai Tucsons, and they said it was just horrifying. Like, you had talking about range anxiety. This was where is my next station to fill up? I have no idea.
You really basically have to you're on a tether.
You have to
Even
plot
worse than
out your
electric.
route everywhere you go, and that's pretty steep price too. I mean, this was, I can't remember how much the tax incentives were, but I think before it was almost $60,000 to pay for this vehicle.
How does it compare to the FCX Honda? Which did they stop selling those, or are they still available?
No, it's available. Is that the new one? That's the new one.
Yeah, the FCX
Yeah.
Clarity or whatever.
Well, the Clarity's gone, but there's a new car.
Oh, okay.
Which I believe is
There's
still
an
called FCX.
FCV maybe or something.
Maybe it is
something. I don't
FCV.
know. I read that.
We
as a
should
couple
know
years
better,
off.
but we don't. But anyway, both Toyota and Honda have similar sedans coming to market right now, which will be sold in California. And it's like the early electric cars. Most of the statistics or specs are very similar. You just have to wonder, building on what Greg said, with hybrids getting so sophisticated and people really very happy with hybrid fuel economy, whether this is not so much future think that, barring the government coming in and putting in the infrastructure. I mean, it's not even like natural gas where you've got an infrastructure.
And we're getting so close on EVs as far as making them practical. I mean, why would I want a big hydrogen tank in my car? I can just get an EV and plug that in every couple hundred miles.
Between the fast chargers that can do 80% of the charge in 45 minutes, we just got in a couple of portable chargers that you can carry with you. They cost $500-$600. You sort of just have to wonder if maybe in this case Toyota said, we're doing very well with hybrids. We're going to pass over electric cars because we don't want to mess up our hybrid sales. But don't know.
Maybe they've been getting all this money for hydrogen development. They had to put something out to show for it, I guess.
Well, when you've got more money than any other car company in the world.
What do they claim? They say they spend $1 million every hour in research and development.
Something like that.
Wow.
We do too, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
All right, let's move on to our viewer question. And this is from Jacques. And he says, I have a 2015 Acura TLX. So do we, of course. And it has suspension noise, especially in the winter. He saw one of our last long-term road test updates about the car we have. We had the same problem. Ours was, I believe, on the left side. You said you took the car back to the garage. Can you tell me what they fixed or what they did? My dealer, he says he does not know what caused it.
Yeah, I'll take care of that one. We did have some noise in our front end of the TLX. Took it back. There is a technical service bulletin on the strut mounting bolts. I called this morning to confirm that. There still is a TSB on that. So if your dealer says he has no idea about that, he needs to do a better job of checking. But, yeah, it's just a matter of retorquing the strut bolts. I can't say that his noise is exactly the same what we were having, but there's a TSB on the front strut mounting bolts.
This is kind of one of our pet peeves about some dealers is when a problem is not readily apparent. They've either not checked their TSBs or they basically tell the customer they don't know or it's normal. And if you're a customer of a car and you're getting that kind of response from the dealer, press them, and remember, you always have the recourse of contacting the manufacturer. There's all kind of information in the back of your owner's manual. You can arrange to meet with someone from the manufacturer, and usually just that, scheduling an appointment, will put a little bit of a fire under the dealer and get them to maybe take your problem a little more seriously. But don't take a brush off as an answer. We have a very good Acura dealer, and he basically went right to it, knew exactly what the problem was, and took care of it almost before we even got it out of our mouth telling him. All right, thanks, Brian. Now we're going to do something new. Our producer, Patrick Lucas, has come up with a new segment called Rant and Rave. So this is anything, and let's say anything automotive on anybody's mind, current stories, developments in the auto world, trends, whatever. Would anybody like to rant about something?
Well, I have a quick rant before you get to a bigger rant. The lack of a volume knob.
True story.
Yeah. Because, I mean, for my generation and generations before, the term crank it up. You just want to reach out and twist that volume knob and be at maximum
And now
rocking.
you have to hit it. Like,
Well, it's worse in our
It's
situation
ridiculous.
if someone drove the car before you and left like watercolors cranked up to max volume.
John.
Thanks a lot.
And you have to get in there and like turn it down because it's like hurting your ears.
Oh, no, wait a minute.
And there's no volume knob, and you're looking for a rocket switch.
I've
You
seen
got to
it.
press and press and press.
I could
and
make
press.
the same case about a lot of other stations. But, it's not just, I totally agree with you, but I actually miss it on the station selector too, because sometimes you just want to twist the dial a little bit and see what comes up, and to take your eyes and your hands away from the steering wheel, bother.
You can't call it old-fashioned. It's just the way it should be.
It's almost human nature. Anybody else with a rant or rave?
Well, to play off that, I've noticed in Hyundais and Kias is when you do have a tune knob, but it's so slow. It's like you really have to go click by click to even
There's
get
like
it to
no
go.
detents. It just spins and spins.
Yeah.
It takes forever.
The more that you spin it, the slower it goes almost.
Yeah, that's a
funny.
pain.
All right, so we're our rant and rave this week has to do a lot with some of the new controls, and it's interesting. Manufacturers keep bringing back the buttons and the knobs, but here we go again. I've noticed some of the newest cars that we'll be talking about in the next few months are going away again, so I don't know what's going on there. All right, thanks very much for that. And if you've got anything that you'd like to send us as a viewer question, or if you want to suggest a rant and rave, make sure you contact us through our website at motorweek.org or pbs.org/motorweek. And that brings to a close our MotorWeek podcast number 117. I'd like to thank our audio engineer, Jim Bigwood, our podcast creator, Bob Mixter, and our podcast producer who's sitting here with us today, Patrick Lucas.
Hello.
He's otherwise known as the man with the bell. Thank you all for listening and for watching MotorWeek on public television stations around the country, as well as on the Velocity channel. And I better hush because I'm running out of breath. I'm John Davis. For all of us at MotorWeek, thanks for listening and watching MotorWeek.
You have been listening to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com, RockAuto.com, and by Die Hard. For additional information on podcasts, videos, and showtimes, visit our website at MotorWeek.org. And watch MotorWeek, television's longest-running automotive magazine series each week on your local PBS station.